So we change topic, and from the space we go back to Earth, and the next presentation will be from Jean-Yves Lauture, Chief Technical Officer in EOS Positioning, and he's going to introduce the receiver from EOS Positioning implementing high accuracy for agriculture and surveying. So please, Jean-Yves.
Good afternoon, everyone. I want to thank EUSPA for the invitation. I was told that I'm the only non-European Union person in this room. Have you guys ever felt lonely? And thanks, and the beautiful city of Madrid, of course, where people are very warm. And thank you again, Victor Emilio, for making this happen. The presentation is going to be high level, I'm warning you. You guys have been asking very technical questions. You seem to be technical gurus. If that's the case, I recommend you go take triple shot espresso. Otherwise, if you fall down your chairs, I'm not responsible. Okay? So you were warned. EOS, we're based in Canada, Montreal. The company is 10 years old. I personally have been designing receivers since the year 2000. And the mandate of the company basically is to bring high accuracy to a market, which is the GIS market, where people are not GNSS literate, if you want. So I personally go back from 1992, starting doing GPS. And first of all, I want to tell you about the customer base that we have, because it's all about, this presentation is going to be about the users, about the adoption, what I think it is, outside of the European Union also. It's the Galileo HAS is a European system, and how is the adoption happening outside? So our user base, who they are people, again, GIS formation, don't even know what a datum is, and they have to go map points, and they have to have the accuracy. So EOS demystified the high accuracy and making it vulgar, making it easy to use in any mapping applications. And I developed personally the very first sub-meter Bluetooth receiver on the market back in the year 2000. That was even before was commissioned. And people didn't believe in that. They didn't know how to spell Bluetooth, and they didn't know what was EUSPA. They knew nothing about this. And I can tell you there was a challenge there. It was patience. It took years, but there was patience there. And then after that, tuning the receiver so that we can make the best possible use of the EUSPA system at that time. 60 centimeter accuracy, where others were 1 to 3 meters. At that time, there was Windows Mobile also. Pocket PC, 2000, 2002 Windows. Those who were as young as me remember that also. And bringing a receiver like this to the market where everything was detached, different components, that was the evolution of GPS only at the time, and GLONASS also. And also afterwards, I even remember, Reinhardt, if you're listening, when IGNOS was on testbed, I met a EUSPA person saying, okay, and you say you're working with IGNOS? Yes, we're working with IGNOS. How come nobody's talking about this in Europe? I'm pushing it. And they don't believe that we're getting 60 centimeter accuracy with IGNOS. And again, it was to bring these customers from prior to 2000, when there was selective availability, when everybody was supposed to post-process, for example, in forestry application, they were post-processing. I can tell you, if the data was wrong, they had to go back 300 kilometers in the forest and do that mapping again with the black flies that we have in Canada. When they bite you, they take part of your skin with you, and they hated you. They hated me. So if there was a problem with those receivers. So basically, after 2000, everybody rushed on consumer-grade receivers trying to do the same job they were doing for mapping. And then they realized that they were mapping their polygons in the forest, but all their polygons will fall in the lake. So there was a problem there. They needed some correction, and nobody wanted to go back to post-processing. So, and that's what I think EOS did. Made it simple. And the key to that was accurate real-time positioning. And forget about post-processing, forget everything complicated, and put it in the hand of the user. All he has to learn is mapping software. And that was the mandate. So Our customers are utilities, municipal governments, local governments. They range from retired people called back during COVID to map signs, COVID signs, and they didn't know they were put a cell phone in hand and go to mapping. And then more and more I saw over the years that it went from sub-meter needs to centimeter need. And then all utilities now, architecture, engineering, construction, AEC, they do need that centimeter positioning a lot for the as-built. We have vineyards mapping every single plant with 1 centimeter accuracy. Archaeology, cemetery mapping, all sorts of application. Anything that where an accurate location is met for mapping, this is our customer. And so having said that, all what I told you about the real-time, EUSPA, IGNOS, believe me, over the last 2 decades, they have paved the way for Galileo High Accuracy. We come a long way, I think, and those of you can see that, those of you who have been there long enough can see the evolution of this. So knowing that this was coming, the HAS was coming, we decided 1.5 years ago, not knowing when the date was, it was going to be postponed or delayed again, so we decided to go ahead and announce with a Gold Plus that this receiver was ready. It had E6 being there, ready to support the Galileo HAS whenever it would be available. And it was a surprise this year to learn that it was available. So in less than 2 months, a month and a half, we were up and testing and running. And of course, the marketing department at EOS decided to do a promotional video, and that was the first thing they did, and promote that across the board. And basically, we were able to do for Dimitri in the cold of the winters of Canada with 5 meters of snow. He was outside being filmed, doing the data collection for this video. So yeah, these are our winters. You guys don't get this in Spain, right? No? Yeah, okay. All right, that's why I feel so lonely. So, and then basically tune our software also for our users, and then even called a couple of users, and once we announced this, people were showing a lot of interest in the signal. They wanted to try. I'll tell you more stories about this after. And basically, we started doing some initial testing and mapping, just mapping, and realized, okay, fine, we're not there yet, so we had to learn, we had to try to find a couple of contacts at EUSPA and ask some questions, why isn't it working, and then, okay, found all the documentation that we needed to see the stage at which it was and what was not available in phase 1. And it obviously realized phase biases were not there, and then ionospheric corrections either were not there. And this is for example, some samples collected in Europe, where we would reach roughly 30 centimeters after 20-25 minutes. And then after that, it will normalize and get better. This is a 60-minute, multiple 60-minute runs in this. And I took my own personal receiver and antenna on the roof on my desk and logged this for 18 hours. And I did that a couple of times. And post-processed the raw data with NRCan PPP, because since Galileo HAS is using GTRF, very, very close to ITRF, so I post-processed PPP with an ITRF correction in 2023, I'm sorry, point something, the data I did it. These are concentric circles of 10 centimeters each. So basically started, receiver went down to about 50 centimeters, 40 centimeters immediately, and then after that stayed there. And then took a little while, about 30 minutes to go down to about 20 minutes, 15, 20 minutes to go down to 30 centimeters, and then slowly moved its way into 20, and after that stayed there and never moved. So it was gravitating around really where it's supposed to be. And the average is about an astonishing 5 to 7 centimeters. I didn't expect that at all. And this was 18 hours, and this is consistent. Okay, so this is what we're getting in Montreal with the system. And there's 2 plots, Europe and North America. In Italy, about 193 runs of 60 minutes each, and you can see the curve on the right. that 2D RMS, yes, still roughly close to 20 centimeters. It goes up and down in 2D RMS, but I would say RMS values, you can see that very close to the 20 centimeters, which is very, very good for now for everything that's missing in the signal currently. And well, we're not that fortunate on the western part. I think everybody from the west should come and do their mapping in Europe, right? So we get that 20, 25 centimeter going to 30 centimeters, and then it stabilizes and then gets better and better over time. Okay, and I think this is very consistent with the data that we saw this morning, also presented. So and looking at this, I mean, when is phase 2? Hurry up, please. So after the announcement, well, we did more testing. We did a lot of testing. What we still have to do is the performance on the forestry, because most of our users, when they do their field data collection, they are on the trees. They are on the light canopies sometimes, and want to be able to see what we can do without the phase portion, and see what we can do at least to be equivalent to SBAS, to IGNOS. And yes, there are flaws, we know that. There are some data gaps in the signal, and I need to analyze the data to see if it's happening between 1 and 4 p.m. when Spain is taking the siesta, to see if there are gaps in the signal. I have to analyze that. But we see some gaps and also some clock jumps. And these are very, very difficult to deal with. But I had some conversation this morning and more to come on this. But just to say that there are some flaws in the system, and I hope they will be fixed very soon as we go. And again, going back to our users, here you have pictures of National Park Service, and the quote that you see here is from Neil Wynn, which is the acting GNSS coordinator for the entire National Park Service in the US. He has replaced Tim Smith, which is the guy on the top left who was there. He was even born at the National Park Service. I don't recall seeing him outside of National Park Service. He retired now, but still acting as a partner for National Park Service. A very nice guy. He did a lot in GPS at the early days. National Park Service, the message was spread across, the video was published, and then they wanted to try. I said, guys, watch out, please. This is not ready. This is just beta testing. There are a lot of components missing in the signal. This is phase 1. Everybody understands? Yes, we understand. For the morning, you get a call, why isn't that working? So yes, we expect that. So we had to, with a firmware update that we give them, install them so you can go back to the previous firmware, but at least you'll be allowed to test. And they've done a lot. And I even spoke to Neil this week, and he said that basically people have been using it, and then when you leave it long enough, it just gets you the accuracy that most people need today to do their job. And I can tell you, National Park Service, they are in the middle of nowhere. No signal, no phone reception, and they have to map archaeology, they have to map trails, they have to do a whole bunch of different things that require high accuracy, and they also do centimeter accurate. I wanted to take a minute now to talk about the user adoption and what I personally think, to see where I personally think that Galileo HAS fits amongst all the other solutions of real-time corrections available. So at this precise moment, everything from here till then is my personal opinion. Please do not throw any rotten tomato at me. No rocks, especially no rocks, and no eggs, please. They might change. My views might change in the future. But I think that definitely Galileo HAS is a game changer. It changes a lot on the market. Yes, it requires a bigger antenna, a more sophisticated receiver to track the signal, and most of our users will never use the internet for that. They will use a signal in space that I can know, because they will use it in remote areas. In North America, a lot of the states, Department of Transportation, offer free differential corrections in the RTK networks. So for a lot of customers, if it's free, they'll first go with RTK if they have the budget, and if also they require centimeter accuracy. And a lot of them, even in one industry, I take water for example, You might find one water company, a big one, I would name American Water, for example. They do everything at centimeter level. They map every single thing. They can be within a 1 meter radius, they have 5 valves. They have to map each one of them. They do need the accuracy. Rural water, they have one valve, and then probably 5 kilometers further, they have another valve. So perfect accuracy for them. So within the same type of industries, you'll find different adoption of accuracies depending on the needs. And this is very common in North America. I can tell you that with the prices of receivers that have gone down and the ease of use and the availability of RTK network, they have adopted RTK. But again, a lot of the time, you constantly say, our cell connectivity is spotty. We don't have proper reception. What do we do in those situations? Do we have to pay a private PPP correction service? This comes to the rescue. And I would say that a lot of applications also where people were needed only sub-meter, and I go back, there has always been a gap between sub-meter and centimeter, and that component, we call that in North America sub-foot. And this is exactly what this does. Cover that big gap of sub-foot users who don't really need the centimeter, that might need 15 centimeter accuracy, and the other ones, and for which 1 meter or 60 centimeter is not enough. So, and there are a tremendous number of these users, I can tell you. So, compared to SBAS, definitely yes. And the advantage also of Galileo HAS is that since the satellites, all the satellites participate in the message broadcast, IGNOS might be blocked by a building and you cannot do anything. With Galileo HAS, you keep on working. Your productivity will be increased on this. On the other end, Galileo versus RTK, you have RTK network receiving via the internet, and if you had to use Galileo HAS in some situations because of the phase performance probably on the light canopy and the latency and the time of convergence, you might not be productive with that in some challenging conditions. These are my personal views. Now, what can be done in all the processes, in the algorithms, in the firmware, this is where the magic will play, I think, in the future. There's a lot of things to explore. And you're talking about also a lot of applications in those countries where there's absolutely nothing. You take Africa, you take Latin America, you take a lot of part in Asia, there's nothing. There's no SBAS, there's not even any RTK infrastructure. This is a gold mine for them. They'll be able to map things with an unexpected accuracy of 15 centimeters. So the adoption of that European technology, I can tell you, in North America is booming right now. I mean, you got all the Western eyes looking at you guys, what you're going to do, so, and everybody's waiting for you. So, and the adoption has been extremely positive so far, and the return that we got from our customers who had Arrow Gold Plus, it's fairly recent, it's about a year and a half ago, all asked, can we get the firmware, can we try it? Yes, you can try it. So people are using it, so we'll be collecting a little bit more data, a little bit more feedback, and probably sharing it with some of the folks at EUSPA if required. You can visit our website to know more, subscribe to the newsletter. We try to give a monthly newsletter with a lot of information and user case studies. And you can contact our team for their info page on this one. Everybody's still alive? Good. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jean-Yves. I'm sure there are questions. Are there any questions for Jean-Yves?
Non-technical. No, I can't ask
because I'm sure everybody saw the receiver in the catering area. Yes. If not, indeed, we can break. Is there a question? Yes, please. We have time for a couple of questions.
Thanks a lot for the presentation. One question about the connectivity. Nowadays, there are opportunities to receive data through LEO.
To what?
Through LEO satellites, low Earth orbit satellites.
LEO satellites, low Earth orbit.
Oh, yeah, okay, the lower satellites, yes.
And that will also allow you to receive data for corrections or these kind of things. You tried anything like that, compared solutions?
No, I think that we focus on, I mean, are you talking about the low commercial satellites, the small ones, low orbit? Yeah, no, we tried to, a couple of companies tried some satellite receivers I forgot the name of the company in Canada. And it proved well because they were able to receive some corrections, and then basically they were in the middle of nowhere in northern Canada, nowhere to be found. And so they tried to use that. I would say that currently in North America, people will either go against submeter, which is free with WAS, or they will go centimeter, and they have an RTK network infrastructure more or less where they are, except in the desert and remote areas, they don't have it. So there has not been a lot of efforts being put into custom-made, if you want, or non-conventional. And also we offer a private PPP service with our systems for this. So we try to keep it simple, not complicate things for our user base, otherwise it tends to be a bit complicated for, It's difficult enough to show them an iOS device and you have to press this, press that, and then yes, it's different than Android, so the backspace is here. So we'll try to keep it simple for the customers.
Clear, thanks a lot.
Thank you very much. I propose we break for a short, for a quick coffee, and we can be back at 4 to continue with the last set of presentations. So thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.